So welcome everybody to Writers Discuss Writing, which is part of Writers Morning Out, and we are affiliated with the North Carolina Writers Network. And today we're going to talk about writing tics and those kind of things, overused, distracting words, and so forth. And Dr. Judith Stanton, who is a great friend and just the world's best editor, if you ever have an opportunity to use her abilities. She's amazing. But so she is going to lead the way, and I might throw my 1 or 2 cents in here and there, sort of toward the earlier part of it all. So
yeah, it's 50 cents you're bringing to us, George, if not a silver dollar.
my goodness, I don't know. But nevertheless, it'll be tag team, and for our own notes, we're calling this fixing tics and bad habits in your prose. Judith, you got to start.
As I started, okay, so George and I had this experience. We were swapping reads on each other's novels and started to realize that we had some overused words. And later on, we've compiled a list of what happened when we identified them and went through our manuscripts and got rid of everything we could. Numbers the works. It's really funny. But as I was starting to think about talking about to y'all today, I remembered a classic style manual called Elements of Style by Strunk and White. And White is the great writer E.B. White, who wrote Stuart Little and Charlotte's Web and was just well known for that. But he was also for many years a great writer for the New Yorker. And my favorite injunction from Elements of Style, which Strunk originally wrote for his students and published privately and required that they buy it. And then White took it over. That was in 1919, I think, and White took it over, and it's been through 4 editions of not very much, and it's the heart of it is still all there. Well, the injunction that I remembered and loved the most is item 17, titled simply "Omit Needless Words," which is a perfect command because there are no needless words in that order. And if you want to get us started on screen sharing, I thought we could start off with a little tribute to White and look at what he has to say about omitting needless words.
Oh, that's the one you want. Excuse me.
Yeah, that's the beginning of our handout.
Okay, I'm going to bring that right up and share screen.
The thing is, it's only 60 or so pages long, so it beats the heck out of trying to memorize everything you need to know about style from the Chicago Manual of Style, which is,
Is this the one? Is this the one, Judith?
Here we are. Perfect. Yes. So he says in his concise way, can we move it over on the screen just a little bit, give it a
bigger?
Perfect. This is what Strunk originally said. Vigorous writing is concise. A sentence should contain no unnecessary words, a paragraph no unnecessary sentences, for the same reason that a drawing should have no unnecessary lines, and a machine no unnecessary parts. This requires not that the writer make all sentences short, avoid all detail, and treat subjects only in outline, but that every word tell. And these examples are so good. They're not what George and I did, but I thought it would be a good place for us to start. For example, the question as to whether can simply be whether. There is no doubt but that can simply be no doubt or doubtless. Used for fuel purposes used for fuel purposes is just fluff. He is a man who, forget it, just say he. Anyway, her story is a strange one. Her story is strange. And this one is, the last one there is perfect. The reason why is that because does all that work? And the fact that Strunk believed was an especially debilitating expression, it should be revised out of every sentence in which it occurs. He apparently was a rather grumpy fellow, and you can just hear him making these pronouncements to his poor junior students. Owing to the fact that is just simply because, in spite of the fact that is though or although, calling your attention to the fact that, remind you or notify you, and so on. And there's another bit recommending that you check out what he has to say about the words case, character, and nature, all also fluff. And the which is and which was, which is not in our list. Another reason, George, for us to include this. Notice how much neater these two phrases are. His cousin, who is a member of the same firm, can simply be his cousin, comma, a member of the same firm, comma.
Yeah.
And Trafalgar, which was Nelson's last battle, is easily understood if you simply say Trafalgar, Nelson's last battle. And then I wanted to move on to what we're going to be talking about. I found a wonderful young woman with that I've got references to in here to her website, Chris Mays, who writes about this, and she starts talking about very, which we talk about a lot, and other distracting modifiers, and says using very has been discussed in writing groups often. Eliminating this word has been quoted by Mark Twain when he famously asked writers to replace the word very with the word damn, and it will be deleted by their editor. And I also, I love this quote that she gave from the Dead Poets Society. In the English class, the teacher says, "So avoid using the word very because it's lazy. A man is not tired, he is exhausted, not very tired, he is exhausted. Don't use very sad, use morose. Language was invented for one reason, boys, to woo women, and in that endeavor, laziness will not do. It also won't do in your essays." And then she lists more and asks these questions, which we learn to ask ourselves. If you find a replacement for the very phrases, it can improve your story. Does the new word heighten the genre or theme of your story? If the word is spoken or thought, does the word choice exemplify the unique aspects of that story character? And we'll talk about that a little more. Right. Can the words you choose add a literary element to your writing? Rhythm or cadence also draws readers into your work. She does have some errors in what she wrote, if y'all caught that error. Rhyming or cadence also draws.
No.
Oh, it's draw.
Yeah.
Oh, or that's right. That's right.
Or rhyming or cadence also draws. If she said and, the draw would be correct.
There's that great editor at work, Judith. I love her.
She is hard to live with. Okay, key word of advice you're going to be getting from me is, after we talk about how we got rid of all these words, don't expect yourself to get rid of these words in your initial, as you're producing your initial draft. Just anyway, you should be allowing your inner native natural voice to speak to you as you're inspired by telling your story. Don't mess around with this stuff until later.
So now, don't we now go to the our lists of things according to my schedule. Are you up with
That's it, yeah.
Okay, so I am going to stop sharing this one. And Judith, do you want to lead into what we did? It's a thing. I'm going to do share.
Well, we started noticing repeated words and we got some hints. Then I sometimes notice, especially am likely to notice if a word is repeated, any word, 2 or 3 or more times in a single paragraph. And this just got us started on this list. And as we worked on the initial words, others started to occur to us. And so what you see on the left is George's words, and we started on him first, and I said, I better do this too. And so,
oh boy.
on first looking, we would find certain numbers of things. And yeah, let's start with just.
362 I found in my 80,000 word manuscript. I can mention later, I did go through the whole process word by word and choose which ones to keep and not keep. And that's a process you can do. And there are things that'll help you do that. But yeah, that's 362 went to 360, went to 35. That was pretty bad. So 230 went to 126.
Whew.
Judith, those are my two biggest ones. There are some hundreds and there's some 120s. And then Judith's big one here was so 207. But you had some comments. You didn't cut out as many.
I got kind of exhausted. I might yet go back. But what happens with the word so, one reason you see so many so's is that it has two different functions. It can act as a conjunction, just like and, or, nor, for, but, and so. Those are conjunctions. And you probably need you may well need most of those. But the other so's are adverbs, adverbs, and I would call them, I call them intensifiers. And they're often not needed. And I just got exhausted in the conflict that I was having between, okay, conjunction, intensifier. So I got to go back and finish that.
Is this dialogue or is this narrative?
Good, excellent question, Anne. It was the entire document. And one of the things I came to realize as we were working on it is that you generally need to cut these fluffy words from the narrative, but you may find it really difficult to get rid of them in dialogue because that's how people talk.
Yeah.
And so I found myself preserving with just a lot in dialogue. My novel is in a close third person point of view. So I was really attentive to making my hero's narrative voice throughout the novel the way he thinks. And this became funny a couple of times because sometimes Professor Stanton stepped in and wrote a sentence or two. And oops, I had to get rid of those because that wasn't Hamp's voice. So, but he would be thinking just and only and really. But I kept it in dialogue. And George, you ended up making that very similar.
Oh yeah, I mean, so mine was set in the 50s and it was in a semi-rural area, and there were a lot of people talking colloquially. That was my excuse.
And that's good. That's good. Um,
Got a bunch of that out. I want to add, Judith, so John Grisham was interviewed. Oh, just but I want to. He did a sequel to the book The Firm, came out in the last 6 months or something, and he was interviewed about his writing in The Firm and other things. And then they said, "Do you have any issues?" And he thinks he's, "Yeah, I got words that no matter what I do, I use them. They just keep popping up." And then my editors and stuff have to take them out. And they said, "What are your words?" And he said, "Just and then." No matter what I do, they're in my stuff. And I'm looking, see, here we are. We're following the great train there. So they said, "So what do you do about that?" He says, "I just keep writing, and then after a while, someone else gets rid of them." So I
Yeah,
thought,
but he's already made his whole publishing firm millions of dollars, so they have to take care of him.
do something.
They don't have to take care of us.
Well, so yeah, I just thought that was
I
worth
love
adding,
that.
even
Yeah.
though he's doing those kind of things too. So that's our list. And this is not a conclusive list. I mean, but
No.
it's
Well,
Well, I'm going to do a scan of what I'm currently writing and see what comes up using those words. Yeah, just to look, find these words. Yeah,
so
yeah.
Judith, can I, so on that, my notes just say one of the things is dialogue can give you an excuse to use them.
Mhm.
It's a colloquial conversation, and that's just the way they talk. They go, "So, what do you think of that?" Well, that's just how that person talks, right? So you can do that. But so if my little part of the thing today is, so the way I found these was I used Microsoft Word and I did find, and
Mhm.
I'm not going to go into details about how to use Word, but it's not difficult. And you can play around a little, but it'll find whole words. It'll find it like if you're looking for the word so it doesn't find every word that starts with SO. You can make it use whole words, you can make it use ones with capitals or not with capitals. But that's how I nailed these things down. I thought of them on my own, and then it would say you have 362 occurrences of just, you
Mhm.
know. And so then I read my way through. So then most recently, just this week while we were working on this, there were two things that came up as a way to, let me see if I can bring this over, to find words in your manuscript. So let me stop sharing, share you this one thing if I can do it right. I think this is it here. So there's a guy named Chris McElligott Park. Ooh, I have to move this so you can see the URL. ChristopherMPark.com. And he has he has some tools, and one of them is called Manuscript Analyzer. And all you have to do is take a piece of text and paste it in there. I'm copying something from another screen. This is not even one of my written things. I paste it in, and there it is. This is something that was about writing fluff words that Judith sent me, and I click on analyze, and it instantly gives you a count of words. And it just counts the words in descending thing. But you can choose to sort by count, frequent offenders, adverbs, phrases, large words, all kinds of ways. You have only words that have more than two, or you can make it larger, and you can even put a filter in. So that's a simple thing for you. And it even has a dictionary of frequent offenders that you can choose if you want. So a simple deal. It's called ChristopherMPark.com and it's /M analyzer, or click on his tools and I think it takes you there. But it's a simple one. Okay. But it's very quick, very simple. It's free. So no questions, comments on that, right? We're okay. The other thing,
You're going to send that address to us, yes?
Judith, we can send it's in our little outline. I have it in there. If we can
It-
send
But
it out.
a Christopher M. Park address.
Yeah, it's in the outline. It's in the handout that we're basing this talk on, that you're seeing on the screen.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so now
Um,
the other one,
And we plan to have it posted on the website, but if any of you would like it quicker or have not had good success going to the website, you can just email me and I'll send it to you.
I mean, I guess Carol would send out to everybody if you wanted, if nobody had objections,
Right, or we
save
can just send it directly to you from,
send it all to you. And
Unless
we
you-
can outline of what we did today, and in there are links to that guy and to this next one I'm bringing up, all right?
Great.
So Judy is going to send those to our email?
we're gonna find, if everybody wants us to, we can have it all sent to you simply via email directly.
I want one.
Okay. Yeah, we'll send it to you all.
Okay, so the other thing, this was Carol Phillips recommended this, called AutoCrit. Have you heard of it? I don't know if you have. I've heard the name, but I thought, let me just take a look at that this week. And I was stunned by what it did. And so AutoCrit, you can join for free. And it has a bunch of plans, and I'll show you that quickly to give you an idea of what it does. So it's got free forever for $0 a month, and it's a full feature writing platform, digital note cards, and some other things. AutoCrit Pro, I signed up for it, and it's $30 a month. And I thought, well, somewhere I saw if you cancel in 60 days, you get your money back. Doesn't show here, but I saw it. But then I saw the other one, $15 a month if you pay it annually. So I went and paid $180 and got it. And maybe I'll cancel it, but I think I'm going to keep it. But it does all the free stuff, plus it gives you a bunch of summary reports. It'll compare you with 100+ authors or genres. You can choose them and compare your manuscript to them.
I mean, so you can even, I was struck by this when you were showing this to me this week, George. You can ask it to analyze your book as a historical novel or science fiction or romance.
Yep. And
That's pretty cool.
It's so good. It'll also analyze your pacing, your dialogue, your strong writing. There's a private member community, there's discounts and things like that, but there's more in here. So I did that. So what I did then is I took my 80,000 word manuscript and it wouldn't upload. So I copied it and I pasted it in. For some reason, it's hung up on this little deal, but I can get a chapter analysis. So if I click this one, so I have a chapter that has been, a lot of people have read my book, but I had an agent who had used writers and they analyzed my book. And chapter 2 is a guy coming home from a war across the country in a train, and he's remembering how he was as a kid and what he went through and what he experienced in the war and this big conflict he has going on. And then as the chapter goes on, there's some extra conversations, but there was, the comment was made that I was telling rather than showing. And I was sort of frustrated because I thought, well, but I'm in a person's mind. It's hard to show their mind. I wanted you to read what they're thinking. So anyhow, this particular thing, by the way, Judith, it changed. I sent you one. it changed the one I sent you. It did such an eloquent job analyzing my my chapter. I thought, wow, I wish I could do the review, but
So but this says it's a synopsis.
okay, no. Well, so this is looking at chapter 2. It gives a synopsis.
It gives a synopsis.
It
Oh,
gives
wow.
conflict.
Oh, wow.
It gives the characters, character by character, tells you who they are. It just basically gives the world that you built in the chapter. So it tells you things that are going on. The culture is in conflicts, possible contradictions, or were none. It gives you a timeline analysis, which doesn't work perfectly because it only looks at the chapter.
Hmm.
It speculates about things, foreshadowing events. And it says, oh my, there's an internal struggle with guilt over the incident to still, and its fear of facing consequences foreshadows a potential reckoning or resolution for the issue later in the story. So it does things like that, most of which are correct. It does plot thread tracking.
AI stuff, you
Good
say?
gracious.
And so it gives you, there's 5 threads it's pulling out. And then it categorizes it just based on the chapter as historical fiction and coming of age. And it goes into the protagonist's experiences in World War II, reflections in the past, blah, blah, blah. And then it goes to the next chapter, and it does it chapter by chapter. So if I choose fiction analysis, I can't do that because it's in the middle of, it's hung up trying to analyze this thing again for me. But it gave me a wonderful write-up that I shared with Judith. I was like, man, I wish I could write a write-up like this. I'm not going to waste your time and bring it up, but I just wanted to tell you it was impressive. So when you get into it, it should be able to show me, what does this do? It brings the right, there's a right screen that it brings up, and on the right side, you can then get, for example, you can look at your pacing and momentum. Now, I don't have anything in here now. So, but it would quickly analyze each of these items. Oh, here, remember the thing I showed you on that other page? I just put in this little few paragraphs. And so it would analyze it, and you could choose to analyze it fiction or nonfiction, and it will tell you. See, I messed up. It's hung on my novel. But the point being is that it will do all these kind of things for you.
Wow.
It's pretty cool. And I'm afraid I can't show you all of them because it wants me to quit.
It's so much fun to see it working. Thinking.
Yeah, then it usually brings a right screen up, and the right-hand screen has an analysis.
Oh, this is a
dialogue, you know?
if you can stay on the screen that we were looking at, I think it's fascinating because it looks like it's critiquing a query letter.
Oh, yeah. See, okay, here's an example. So for dialogue, there was no dialogue. There's a little dialogue in this little clip I gave you, about 5-6 paragraphs. And it said it was historical fiction. So this is incredible.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
So it picks things out. There's back to my book now. So it's still hung up analyzing my book. So now it's comparing my book. To the left screen is trying to do new things, but it says 80,000 words, dialogue, and it gives me specific things. I can click on one of those and it takes me to that spot in the book, and then I can edit it. Dialogue tags.
Gee whiz.
Yeah.
Dialogue tags. It'll tell you. So it's analyzing 80,000 words right now. And there were 448 sets, and there's.
Oh, this is so useful.
I click on Whispered, and it takes me to Whispered. And then I can edit that. And once I'm done, I can export this all out once I'm done editing. So adverbs in dialogue, which is some of what we were talking about today, really, and so forth. Softly, quietly, seriously, calmly, I could vehemently, so I did softly 7 times. And so there's one occurrence. If I click on softly again, it takes me to number 2. And I click on softly again, it takes me to number 3. Then I can choose to, in that case, replace softly with something else, right? Judith, looking at my new manuscript, I said, George, you're using a lot of deep breath. You're taking deep breath everywhere. And I have that in here. And it found 7 instances of deep breath in the book. That's only 20,000 words. That's 1/4 of a book. I was like, wow. So I can actually go and click on them, and it takes me to the place, and then I can edit them. I'm just trying to point that out.
Yeah.
As you're using the same words sometimes.
So there's strong writing, and you can choose adverbs, you can choose tense consistency, showing versus telling, cliches, redundancies. Pick one of those.
We pick cliches. We don't write in cliches, do we? Oops.
Unless it all's well that ends well.
Right.
You know,
So
I looked at this program yesterday and I downloaded the free version. And essentially that free version was Grammarly because that's a sub-platform that they were using.
They said they're related to Grammarly was somehow in. There's a whole thing about how to use Grammarly.
Service Lawrence.
Oh, Grammarly, Les, over on the right side. You see that pop up?
Yeah, right.
Just do that. That'll check your spelling and grammar for you. So your free version, less your concerns about your spelling. There you go. Right?
Yeah, you know, that makes some mistakes. I have to tell you.
It's not perfect.
We are talking,
Yes.
right?
Yep. Yes, Al. Oh, you're talking to somebody else. Anyhow, so there's cliches. On the other hand, there are 8 of those. Get out of here. I have 6 times it's occurred. So I can click on it, and each time I click on it,
That's right, Sam.
I can straighten them out. All right. And word choices.
It says unknown caller or spam risk.
Hey, Al, you're coming through our broadcast, just so you know. Okay, first person. So anyhow, point of view, it gives you how many first person I have, second person, third person in the book. So I don't want to overload you. I just want to give you an idea that I was like, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe this. I was just trying to find issues, and it has readability statistics, and I don't know these, maybe if you've been to school recently, you know the scores. I don't know these Space and Flish, Kincaid and Lee, but these are reading scores that tell you how readable it all is.
Well, and it's good to know because
Yes, it does.
you want to be at the 6th grade level generally in popular fiction. You don't
Okay.
want to be higher up.
Dave?
Well, you got it there. All right. Anyhow, that's all. I don't, unless you have questions. I did want to make the comment. So you realize I put an 80,000 word novel in here, and 10 minutes later, I had the most beautiful analysis of chapter 2 that was well written. I wish I could have written it so well. And wasn't a person sitting somewhere that sat down and quickly did that had artificial intelligence. And I know I've tended to put negative on artificial intelligence all along, but all I can say, I was impressed with that. So, I mean, it's kind of boggling what it does. Any questions on it? Or otherwise, I'm going to give this all back to Judith. But pretty amazing, do you think? Anybody get comments, questions?
I'm
Oh, I was just asked, is it taking any verbal dictation or at all?
It says
Okay.
it did say that it does
Okay,
in the expense in the version that you have to pay for. Doesn't it say it takes dictation?
Yeah, it did say that, Judith.
Yeah.
okay.
In pricing. Advanced voice reader,
Advanced voice reader, very nice.
Yeah.
okay. You can choose voices and a bunch of stuff. I haven't done that, but. Okay, is that all right? I just was mind blown by it. I was like, wow, you know. And you're right, Les, Grammarly, when I was reading some of the analysis, Grammarly is something that they use in, as I indicated, on the side, you can choose to get Grammarly right there.
Now, I wonder if you buy this, do you have to buy, is that the pay for Grammarly or?
No,
In
it
other
comes
words,
with, I think
you don't
Grammarly,
know.
I think Grammarly's already in it. It said it was in it.
Right, so you don't have to buy that separately.
No,
But there are two versions of Grammarly too. There's the free version and the more analytical version.
well, maybe this one does so much stuff. I
Yeah.
Mm.
And it does a chapter by chapter thing. I have not mastered everything. There's so much in it. I'm sure I'm missing new things. That obviously you saw I had a little trouble today showing you. Like you give me a month or two from now and I'd be smoother on it. But anyhow,
Well, I'm just thinking this is the year for me to invest in it because I've got 3 book-length manuscripts that are nearing completion. I've been working on them, switching back and forth, working on them for several years. To apply it to 3 would take some.
and if you buy it annual, you know, you really get half price. So that's the story.
Yeah, that's what I would do, because even with this tool, it's still going to take me the rest of the year to get these 3 pieces ready for to go to agents.
And then there's a process, you know, when you make your changes, you export it out and save it. So you have to do that part, but
Yeah.
okay. Anyhow, I thought that was pretty amazing. I shared it with you. Hope you enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So I wanted to say one thing very, very plainly. Well, there are 2 things to be said plainly. The first is, it is really important that you don't burden yourself with these concepts in the discovery draft stage. When you're writing your first draft, your brain does not need to be burdened with these things. You need to go with the flow of your ideas.
Right.
Especially if you're following any natural. Let's see, can we go? This is in this.
With the other one, right? Yeah.
No, the other one, yeah. And in this, I'm just reading from my notes.
Right.
But if you are already following any natural kind of pantser inclinations, do not stifle that effective writing process. Keep writing by inspiration. Because what's going on there is that you're writing from your own personal, natural voice that you learned as a child and have refined in adulthood. We all have many voices. I have, and I can go to it, especially if when I'm with my relatives or some other deep South type Southern person. I have a real authentic Southern drawl and idiom that I can draw on, and I do it sometimes in my poetry, especially. I don't tend to write books set in the South. But so you've got that natural voice. Then teachers, starting in elementary school, going through high school, college, the works, try to drum that voice out of you and teach you an educated voice. And especially if you've been like a school teacher or that educated voice has become a natural voice to you. Then I had the additional level, and all of you did, I had the additional level of learning to write scholarly articles. All of you have learned some profession, and that's a different voice, and it's probably not your best fiction voice. Nevertheless, if that voice shows up in your discovery draft, don't punish it. Keep writing, because you can
Yes.
smooth it. You can smooth
right.
it all out later, after you've been through a round or two of critiquing and whatever, and you can go back and make this consistent with itself and consistent with its own voice. And
Mhm.
that voice may well not be any of your three voices. Certainly in my young adult novel, Hamp Gambrell is 16 years old. And here I am, considerably older than that, and thinking at times in the middle of that novel, what the bleep was I thinking that I could write a novel in the voice of a 16-year-old and not even a girl, a 16-year-old boy, and not even a regular white Southern boy, but a kid who's grown up in Navajo Nation and is half Navajo. So it was a struggle to, at times later on in editing, to make sure everything sounded like Hamp. But it was very rewarding finally.
And I think I want to add before we go to that last part that we got is, and everybody has their own way of writing. On how you do things. And when it comes to writing a novel for the first time in my life, I was a pantser. I sat down and just started writing with no outline. And I was amazed how it came out. I just want to say to you, because that was an amazing experience for me. For me, it was by scenes. So I would just sit down and write a scene. I knew two people were going to meet, and I didn't know what would happen until the scene was over. That's just the way it went for me. I suspect there are people who start out word by word and put a sentence together and put sentences into a paragraph and paragraphs into a chapter and whatever. And I just think, man, that's got to be tough to do. But if you can, try to minimize how much editing you're doing. And I understand, look, I have a daughter who's just every detail's got to be perfect all the way through things. But that desire for perfection, if it gets in the way of writing the story, I'm just arguing is the story. It's all about the story. I said that to Judith. I gotta say,
Yeah.
it's about the story. So get the story down. You can straighten it out later. You can edit it later. You can, if it's one huge paragraph, you can make separate paragraphs later. Just get the story done. Don't let it keep you from. And listen, I don't. Everybody's got to work the way they work, but I'm just saying, if you could just sit down and get your thoughts down and don't worry about it. You can organize it, reorganize it, edit it later. That's my one bias.
Well, I write very differently, and I would recommend it for you only if it suits your personality. I work from a story outline,
Sure.
often a very detailed story outline, and many writers do.
Yep.
And the writers who prefer to write as pansters don't like the idea of planning what you're going to do, because they feel like that takes discovery away from them.
That's right.
And I feel like if I've got a plan for what's going to be in the chapter written out, when I'm writing it, I get to discover what the language is. So, it's, but I am a trained editor since graduate school, and I naturally do a lot of editing too early.
That's all I'm saying. So
Yeah.
you can resist it.
And I wouldn't encourage anybody to do that.
So, yeah.
But another caveat about writing that I've mentioned, I think, before to our group, but I just love one of the most prolific and effective and best loved writers of romance novels is Nora Roberts. 5 or 6 years ago, she completed her 200th novel.
Wow.
And her recommendation was that everybody realizes you can't fix a blank page, but you can fix a bad page. So go ahead and, stifle that editor and put it down on, you can fix it later. And that's kind of what we're talking about doing here today.
It is. So Judith, we have 2 things left. I'm looking at, we have about a little bit less than 15 minutes. One was a comment that I put on the outline for Judith and me.
Oh,
Do
yeah.
we really need to clean this up if I'm going to use an agent or a publisher?
Yeah.
Judith?
Do I need do I need to go through these processes if I'm counting on having an agent and an editor at some publishing house? And the answer is absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they'll just throw it back at you. I mean, you don't want that.
Yes,
back,
exactly. The reason is, and I have been an acquiring editor, and so I've seen things in pretty raw form. And the thinking of the acquiring editor is, they're not paying me enough to fix this stuff. The writer needed to do his or her homework on it. And the other thing about knowing how to do this stuff, even if you're using AutoCrit, you're still learning all the time, is I think it's very rewarding as writers for us to own our writing at a high level of proficiency. It feels good. It means you too might have to start giving talks to Writers Morning Out as you get more and more confident of your management of your own work. And another recommendation that we didn't talk about, George, that I'll just throw in here, and I think probably all of y'all can confirm how valuable it is. It's really valuable to have critique partners. What happens is, when you critique somebody else's work without even realizing it, you're learning to be more objective about critiquing your own. The skills that you bring to your critique partner's work become the skills that you'll bring to your work. So if you, yes, Anne, go ahead.
I was just visually, I've used what is called a PERT chart. If you does anyone use that or know what that is? A PERT chart, PERT. It's a diagramic flow. It's hard, but visually, so you can see the expanse of where your work, your novel is going, the characters interacting, whom is before whom, using, I'm not grammatically correct, and so and how to get to the end. So you have all these diagrams and at the end, and it's a fascinating way to look at something, a writing. I used it for my thesis, so, but that's different than the kind of work you're writing. Might be a way to use historical fiction, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Thank you, Anne. That's good. So you got it, Judith. You're going to do the fluff word thing now?
I'd like to do a little of it. I want to get to Fluffy.
I'll bring that up for you.
They haven't seen Fluffy yet.
Fluff. Oh, that's not it. Oops. Fix Fluffworks. Is that it? Yeah, this might be it. Tell me if it isn't. That's it. Yep.
That's it. We're almost there.
Okay.
She just has some good points about in this cutting out filler in your novel isn't easy. And but I like what she says, that it can be at the end, it's daunting, but one can look for these word culprits and delete, which George and I feel that we've done with great success. And then if you just go on down to the next page, I would like to close with
Mhm.
Kitty cat person.
this. Cat person. I nearly wore my cat sweater today, knowing that Fluffy was on the. But she goes on in the rest of this with a number of useful recommendations.
Mhm.
Vague words.
Yeah,
Words
some, one of,
adverb.
and adverbs and other things. I like, just as an example, and I got caught up on this, adverbs and other sins. Since she says, personally, I'm a fan of using adverbs like a little dash of salt in my story, but it is well known in writing circles that one must avoid using adverbs. Adverbs, or words that describe how an action occurs, are often an easier way to show the reader what exactly is happening in your story. So she says, Teddy walked slowly away from the park. That's clean, plain, simple, but it's
Sorry about that.
telling and not showing, and she gives an alternative way to show Teddy walking slowly. Teddy walked, dragging his sneakered toe one after the other, away from the excitement of the swings. Why do I have to take a nap? Teddy
Yep.
stopped, knotted his arms into a tangled mess. His last hope to wear his mother's will into letting him play, wear down his mother's will into letting him play. I just thought that was such a fun example. And she's got more if we can go down and look at a couple.
Never use always.
Never use always. And the two never and always examples are really good too. My dog never leaves the house. No, my dog loved to chase cats coming into the yard until the burly neighborhood stray tried to make friends. Now he won't leave the house. So, and the girls always love to talk on the phone. But better, the girls used up all the family plan phone minutes, adding surcharges to our bill 3 months in a row. And the gerund business is much argued over. And George, we have had this argument. He
Mhm.
was looking through the window and was talking to his partner on his cell. And she corrects this to, or changes this, I'll say, to he looked through the window and talked to his partner on his cell. And the objection to changing it from was looking to simply looked is that was looking is a process and describes the process that he was looking and continuing to look, was a continuing process. If you just say looked, it's over, but it's not really over, and it's taughter, cleaner writing. I've been jumped on. Gosh, in the slush pile last fall, I submitted a poem, and the judges liked it, but they went straight to my gerund and said, "Get rid of that gerund. You got too many ing words in here." I went, okay, I know that rule. I can do it. But sometimes it just feels like, and the internalization thing was, I thought, somewhat hard to understand.
Okay.
Judith, what if you compromised in that sentence and you said he looked through the window as he spoke to his partner on the phone?
The sense of the looking and the speaking being ongoing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I think when we see the simple past tense, it still feels ongoing. I think that's almost too subtle for a reader to think they've lost anything.
Yeah.
Good question.
So Judith, that kind of does it for us, right? Do you have anything else to say?
Howard?
Give
Yeah,
questions?
I think we got to everything.
Okay.
And
Now you have your screen back again.
and so everybody's gonna go get at least the free AutoCrit, and I'm gonna go ahead and probably fork over for the real one and submit A Horse Named Hero to it. And so when we have writers discuss next month, I'll report
Good.
if I'm still on my feet.
Oh, wow.
I'll just one technical thing. So I went to upload my book, the 80,000, and it said it won't work. It says for some reason it's not working. So I went into my manuscript in Word, clicked on it, hit Command A for all, Command C to copy, and I went to AutoCrit and clicked in there, did Command V, and it pasted the whole 80,000 right into the box.
Okay.
Just telling you, it's a way to get around the process of not working.
Well, that my Horse Named Hero is about that length, so I expect it'll work. Oh dear, oh dear. A new critique partner.
Is there any, help section, that on,
In AutoCrit?
well, yeah, is there any?
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. I watched a couple little video / slide.
Oh, good.
Okay.
So there was different, how to do this, how to do it chapter by chapter. But listen, they just got it like whatever it was yesterday or 2 nights ago or something. So I can't say I've got it all mastered yet.
A lot to learn.
Yeah, one question or point or something to say is we've established that dialogue is privileged from everything we're doing today. But what if the work is all in first person? Isn't that all dialogue? Isn't it all privileged?
Well, that's what I found. Well, I'm not even in first person. I was just doing very, very close third person. It's not as privileged as dialogue. If you've got too many of these bad habits. I mean, I would just give it a try and see what cleaning up does. See the difference between you're using the filler words if you're in dialogue or if you're in the narrative parts. And see if you can give some up. It'll be interesting, Bonnie, to discover what you find out. It's a good question. I mean, that's why I'm kind of going, I'm a little anxious about subjecting my novel to AutoCrit, but I'm gonna do it. and I'll
Let's
let
live
you
on the
know.
edge.
Yeah,
Yeah, living on the edge, right?
yeah. I mean,
One of the things we did not do today, which we normally do because we were being task oriented. We have two guests today that I don't remember meeting. Holly, you got on first, right? Or maybe Papavania.
I think Holly, I
been
think I
here before?
remember you from last week, but
Last week, okay.
Yeah.
Last month, yeah, I think it was a couple weeks ago, yeah.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
Okay, so you were on, and you are where? You're located where?
I'm in Raleigh,
Okay,
North Carolina, yeah.
you had something. And then Papavania, two people there. You guys are new though, right?
No, we've come a couple of times, but we don't always say very much. We're very much newbies at this whole thing, so trying to learn as we go.
Me too.
Same here. I'm only a couple.
Well, I think one thing we're saying is we don't know your names.
Okay, I'm Ellen, and this is my sister Ann.
Okay, Ellen and Ann.
Welcome. Good to have you with us. Do anything you want to say? You want to throw anything out here?
No, I appreciate this introduction you provided today. It's the first real demo I've had, of AI at work, so it's very helpful.
Agree.
Okay.
Scary helpful.
I know.
Yeah, I know.
But I'm sure we'll all be giving it a try.
I was watching Bill Maher, I think it was on his show this Friday, and they were talking about reading and writing, and it seems that in the new generation, only about 20% of this new generation reads for pleasure, which is kind of scary.
Yeah.
So once you get your book out there, think about putting it as a recording.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good way to go. That's a whole nother thing we could do try to do a presentation on. I haven't done anything with that myself at all. I have friends who've been very successful.
Probably less if you did it as a video, you'll get even more people.
I might turn a lot of people off, so that may be counterproductive.
Yeah, no, it's a driving thing. As people are driving,
Yeah.
they're hearing your voice, your book. So I think maybe the video is not a good idea.
Well, some people are attracted by video and music. I just thought I'd throw that in. Not when you're driving. I agree, Bonnie. But there might be another group that I'm not watching if there's no music or no sound. They might want.
Well, some recordings have music added in and some are just straight. So that's interesting. That's an interesting question.
Yeah.
The other group of gathering like this, I just got something this morning. Is it Writers Network or Writers? But their upcoming meeting in a couple of weeks is about finding a reader for your book on tape, more or less. How to find a reader, how to be a reader for your book, your audio book. So we should look at that maybe.
That would be. Who is that? Do you remember who that's coming from?
I get this email from, but if I could find it, I'll send it to you. It's another Writers Network or Writers.
Yeah, the network is doing this.
Oh,
Yeah.
the network is doing it.
Yeah.
North Carolina Writers Network is doing this.
Oh, that
Yeah.
might.
Oh, well, that would be good to tune into because they're pretty spiffy professionals.
Yeah, it just came through the mail last night or this morning, so you may already have it on your computer and haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
It's about getting readers for your audio book.
And we do have one young lady that does the slush pile. She was trained.
Yes.
She finished the course in reading and doing that.
And she was good. It was interesting to hear her move from poetry to fiction and from fiction that was focused on that had like a female protagonist and fiction that had a male. She was really comfortable with all the voices.
Yeah, so that'd be good.
That's a real talent.
Just to remind you, last Tuesday of the month is our craft night. Tracy Crow usually does it.
Yes.
We may have a topic. I don't know what it is, but it's the last Tuesday night at 7 o'clock to 8:30, something like that. Or 8 o'clock. Is it 8 o'clock?
She's very good with her time, and we're always done. She's always done by 10 after.
Very professionally done on craft.
And the talk, she's just brings so much insight and experience to it. For those of you who might not have met her yet, her background is she was in the Marines. She got out of the Marine Corps and got herself an MFA and wrote a memoir of her time in the Marines, and now is running a military oriented publishing company, and is an active, and is Millspeak.
Yep, Foundation.
Yeah, thank you. And is an active agent, especially for representing things with the military slant. But she's reaching out and doing things beyond that as well.
What's her name?
Tracy Crow.
Tracy Crow.
Tracy.
And, yeah, and she's
CROW.
Yeah. Our Writers Morning Out newsletter advertises her.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think so. Oh,
And you'll see some of us there, some of the same faces.
Are you all going to the conference? There's a conference coming up.
what, April, is it? April or May?
Yeah.
You all
Yep.
go?
I'm going.
I might do it this year. It's just in Greensboro, and it's just a day.
Yeah.
I was there 2 years ago or last year. It's in April, right?
April, I think.
Possibility. Okay,
Yeah, because we had to move some things around, not in order not to conflict.
that's right. Yes, that's why it's April. Okay. Sounds good. Well, folks, if there is nothing else, we appreciate you listening to us. Hope it was benefit. Judith always brings great stuff, so I'm happy to.
This was fun really fun to get back to my lifelong friendship with Strunk and White.
I had Strunk and White in creative writing in the 1960s in college.
I'm sure I had it. That's where I first ran into it, or it discovered me. Al's nodding.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
So anyhow, I'm going to just say, we don't have to hang up, but I'm going to say, for the sake of the recording, thank you very much for attending and your questions and your patience. And Judith, thank you for your presentation.
Amen.
And George, for all
Thank
you
you.
brought to it. It's great fun.
Thank you.